So this truck has literally everything that all of the big names do. It's got the surround cameras, it's a four-wheel drive, built-in trailer brake, adaptive cruise control, seat profiles 1 and 2, has all the features, a sunroof, the whole nine, and nobody cares. This is one of the absolutely most forgotten about trucks ever produced for the American truck market, which is kind of funny because it checks so many boxes. This thing has 400 horsepower, over 400 torque, towards 9,000 pounds, has all the features of the big heavy hammers as far as trucks go that we all know and love. Obviously, in the American market, the big ones have always been, Ford, Chevy, Ram, GMC, whatever, and Toyota. Nissan was hanging in there really well for a while, and then they fell off a cliff this truck to the point that they discontinued it, which is absolutely pretty crazy, to be honest. So we're going to talk about whether this truck deserves its downfall or if it's kind of a terrible tragedy, because this truck has so many similar features to another brand that we all know and love, and we're going to talk about why. So let's talk about some of those features that you may recognize from one of your other favorite brands. Obviously, this is all pretty universal, nothing too crazy there. There's a phone holder system there in the center console that might look a little familiar. Even still, not too crazy, probably just an interesting coincidence, right? That's all right. We got the seat storage underneath here with the tray that folds out. Now, several companies have had that. Reach underneath there and you have storage. Interesting. Buttons on the back. Again, something a lot of folks have had. We got hooks going along the bed here that you can slide around. Still not super convinced we got a step coming off the corner of the bed. Gosh, that's very similar to another brand of truck, isn't it? So for any of you that may not know, well, if you're watching this, you're probably a fan of trucks in general. Ram re-upped all their trucks in 2019, new body style, new features, all kinds of stuff. Obviously, they made a ton of moves. One truck of the year, they were flying out of lots and everything. So Nissan went after the guy that helped design a lot of that truck and got him to come over and work with them. So that's why there's so many similarities in overall features, the way everything functions. Not necessarily looks, because it looks a little bit different, but the overall features, the way they operate, all of that stuff, not a copy of Ram, but definitely along the same lines. So what I wanted to do today was hop in this truck and actually drive it. I haven't got to drive very many of these, obviously. As some of you guys probably know by now, I work at a Ram dealership, right? Truck center. We see a ton of trucks. I get to drive a lot of Fords, Chevys, GMCs, Toyotas. We don't get a lot of Nissans, though. And I always wondered, is that just because everyone that has them loves them so much, or are they not selling? Ultimately, obviously, Nissan is a business, right? If something's not sell it, they're in business to make money. If something ain't making money, ultimately, eventually, they're going to get rid of it, right? And I think that is ultimately what happened here, right? It's not a secret. These trucks have not sold worth a darn in this country for really quite some time. But I wanted to talk about if that's, deserved or if that's really kind of a shame. Obviously, I'm happy to have the extra business for Ram, right? But just ultimately, still doesn't mean I want to see something that people like, go away. So ultimately, just driving this truck, it does feel pretty solid. It's got tow haul mode. It tows 9,000 pounds, good power, good torque. But the question is, does it feel as good as a Ram, a Ford, a GMC, a Chevy, a Toyota? I would say no. It doesn't quite have that feel. It doesn't feel bad. It doesn't feel bad by any means. And the other question, does it need to feel as good as the big heavy hitter brands in order to sell? Well, apparently, maybe, right? They aren't selling and people aren't buying them for a reason, ultimately, right? So really, the other thing, they just never were, I would say, a household name, right? When you're talking smack with your buddies because you drive a Ram and he drives a Chevy and you tell him 6 in a row and 8 in a V, you probably sit down to pee and all those funny jokes. You know what you never really hear people bring up is Nissan, right? Like never. You have that Toyota guy once in a while, tons of Chevy guys or GMC or Ford, Ram. You get the point. I don't ever remember hearing people talking about how much they had their Nissan. They loved their Nissan, except for those old, like hard bodies and stuff like that, right? We remember those days. But this is a long ways away, and like I said, I think it might be kind of a shame because this truck checks a lot of boxes. Now, I've never owned one. I haven't looked into them. I don't know if they're, reliable like they used to be or anything like that. But overall, features for features, and I think dollar for dollar, it actually hung in there pretty good. But nobody cared. Nobody bought them. So why would they keep selling it? So driving it, I wouldn't necessarily, I would say I was super impressed. It was maybe better than I thought, just for the fact that they got discontinued and everything. But it doesn't. I mean, it doesn't do anything for you that another truck's not going to do, obviously. As far as exterior styling, I'm really a big fan of this color. This color's pretty cool, especially given that I live here in Arizona. It works out really well. It's a cool color scheme. I'm sure a lot of guys would love to have this going out in the desert and everything, which supposedly this truck is pretty capable of. Really, just the problem you have is I think it's kind of not overcrowded, but people have their trucks that they like. If you're a Ram guy, you're a Ram guy. If you're a Chevy guy, you're a Chevy guy. Ford, Toyota, Toyota, etc., etc. The other thing, this was less money than the top of the line trucks from the other brands, but this still had an MSRP of $65,000, right? So it's not like this was a budget truck by any means either, right? So if you're shopping around for trucks and you've had Rams for the last 10 trucks that you've owned, and you're looking at this one compared to, say, a Laramie Ram that you could have got for, say a similar price point, just for easy math, are you going to go with this one, or are you going to go with the Laramie, which is still, or the Lariat from Ford or SLT or whatever? Those are still nicer trucks than this one, even though this one is the top of the line from Nissan. I think there were a lot of other misses from Nissan as well. I don't remember seeing a lot of marketing. I mean, a little bit when they were coming out with some of the new styling and everything. Like I say, it's not a bad truck. It's a nice truck. It has cooled seats, all the features, bells and whistles, but there's just a couple little things that really kind of stand out to me as someone who's around trucks all day. As a back seat's a little bit smaller. That's no big deal. It's still plenty of room. But one big thing for me that the other brands all got pretty right is how far this door opens. This door only opens to right here, which if you want to load something onto your floor, say you go, shooting, hunting, whatever, you got a gun case, it's a pain to bring things in from the side here. Ram, Ford, everybody else's doors open almost to a 90-degree angle with this pillar. So you can see the difference there. So like I say, those are just some little things that I think, truck sharpers are usually fairly in tune with what they're after and know kind of what they want. I think those are some things that kind of held them back from really being successful, is just a couple small misses like that. Also, even with, they're updated, they have the features, the camera's not nearly as clear as like a Ram, a Ford, a Chevy, GMC, whatever. And this is a 2024 model. So it's not like this is an older model or anything. Just like I say, some little stuff like that. They got all the features correct, but I don't think the execution of them was necessarily great. Also, they've been using the same motor, forever and ever and ever. From all reports, I think it's a pretty solid motor. It's not like other companies haven't done that. Look at Toyota, look at Ram with the Hemi, look at Ford, even the EcoBoost at this point. But those motors are all, tried and true with fan bases and everything. Like I say, I've never heard somebody come up to me bragging about their 5.6 liter V8 that they got in their Titan. So this is a Ram 2500 backdoor, kind of what I was talking about. And the 2500 is an old cab from Ram. They've had it around for what, like 10, 15, 20 years or something. And even it got this little door thing right. You know what I mean? So now you can load stuff in there nice and easy. Versus the Nissan is literally like right there. So again, is that the biggest thing in the world? No, but it's a little thing. If you're going to go spend 50, 60 something $1,000s on a pickup, you're going to notice some of that small stuff, right? Even like the screen, like I say, your cameras are much better in this truck, clarity wise and everything, than they are in that truck. Everything's just a little more ingenuitive in all of the other brands, except for this Nissan right here. The new Toyota's camera's incredible. Nissan, not so much. Right, so like I say, I think it was a good, capable truck that would have checked a lot of boxes for a lot of people, but they just didn't really have anything to grab your attention to make you go check it out. So ultimately, like I say, it is a good truck. It's a nice truck. It has all of the features, but when you really look at it, you look at the new trucks, it feels like those trucks were developed with the features, where it feels more like this truck was developed and then they toss the features in there to still say they're competitive with, oh, we have this, we have that, we have X, Y, and Z. Look at these phone holders. Aren't those cool? Little stuff like that. And I think that's really kind of what kept them back and held them back. Ultimately, that and just not having that name brand recognition in the truck market is really going to hurt you, especially today. Even the big names are struggling to sell trucks a little bit right now, much less if you're kind of known as the the bottom of the totem pole unless you do something to really grab people's attention. If you're significantly less ultra reliable, something like that, even though we all love our American style brands and everything, if Nissan had come out with something new, ingenuitive, the reviews were out there, they were solid, and you could buy it for 20 or 30 grand less than, say, a Ford or a Chevy or whatever, I think it would have got a lot of our attention. That wasn't the case, right? It was just kind of throwing lipstick on a pig, calling it a fancy pig, which, like I say, it's a nice truck, it's fine. But it's not that much less expensive for what you're getting than something like a Ram, Chevy, Ford. So, am I sad to see it go? I mean, I guess I don't really care, right? I've never had one, never dreamed of owning one. I think it's a fine truck that does okay, but I think that's pretty much everybody's consensus, right? And that's the problem. Also, just some small stuff. Like, I'm sure you guys are noticing, my head's touching right here. This is as low as the seat goes, right? And I'm not like an overly tall guy. I'm about 6 foot even. So again, if I'm going to look for a new truck, I'm out, right? I'm sure without the sunroof, it would help a little bit. But still, I fit in a Ram, a Ford, a Chevy, a GMC, roof and all, perfectly fine. So ultimately, what's my answer? Does it deserve to go? I mean, it's kind of hard to say it deserves to go. I'm not surprised it's going, though. I'm really not. I don't think they did anything to drag some of those people over here from Ford, Chevy, GMC. They didn't do anything to make you think twice, say, hey, man, maybe I should go check out the Nissan, right? They just didn't. It's just not something that I think a lot of us would have considered. Obviously, we didn't. Nobody bought them. Now they're gone. So that's going to do it for this video, guys. Drop a like, leave a subscribe, drop me a comment if you have one. Let me know how you like it. And yeah, let's just chat about it.